my gorgeous queen. It is that time of the year when it's feeling a little bit gloomy out, a little bit cold. Maybe you're struggling with that motivation. You're feeling a little bit low confidence, but you have a big trip coming up. All those things. I have the perfect solution to cure your winter blues. The 14-day spring break Pilates challenge at my Pilates studio and app Sweaty Studio. I worked with you guys to come up with this challenge, so it is literally community made. It is 14 days of Pilates and stretches made for beginners, intermediate, and advanced levels. I have classes for everybody. All of the workouts are low impact and blend feel good affirmations with that low impact empowering Pilates movement. Classes have minimal to no equipment that is needed and can be done in small spaces. So if you're on the go, you have limited room in your apartment to stretch out that leg, these workouts are perfect for you. And I made it super tropical vibes to give you that little boost of sunshine in your day to brighten wherever you are. All you have to do to sign up is go to sweatystudio.com/pages/challenges and just click on the March 2023 Spring Break Challenge. I am literally so excited to do this challenge with you. I just did day one today and I'm already feeling so freaking strong. So feel free to hop on in wherever you are and let's move and groove our bodies together. I will see you on the mat. Hello. Welcome to the Healthy Human Podcast. My name is Callie. I'm your podcast host, and I am so excited to have you listening today to today's episode. Wow. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you're back ready for more, I am so excited and I hope you're having the best day ever. Before we get into things, if you love this episode, as always, feel free to leave a review. It helps me so much. It helps our podcast reach more people. And also go ahead and share this podcast with your friends if you love it on Instagram, and you can tag me at Healthy Human Pod as well. Okay, so you guys, if you have never listened before, we always start things off with a little self check-in. So think of a self check-in like a moment to just press pause on your busy day and recenter yourself, ground yourself, and become present with wherever you are in your journey, in your life, and see how you're feeling. So wherever you are, if you're walking, driving, working, just take a moment to breathe in 4 counts through your nose, growing nice and tall, slowing things down, and then open your mouth, exhaling for 4 counts, sighing out anything holding you back in your mind, letting go of any tension in your body. Okay, breath is so powerful, and it always helps to just take a nice deep breath. If you're ever feeling like a little crazy, it helps me so much. And yeah. Okay, now I want you to ask yourself, have I drank water in the past 30 minutes? If you haven't, grab your water with me. I have my water right next to me. And let's hydrate our hot bods in 3, 2, cheers to hydration. All right, now I want you to ask yourself, how am I feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being I'm amazing, 1 being not so hot. Just getting real with yourself here with zero judgment. And now I want you to ask yourself, why do I feel like this? Maybe something happened in your day. Maybe nothing happened in your day. Just taking a moment to figure out if there is a why. Sometimes I just wake up and I feel weird. So don't be too hard on yourself if you don't really have a reason for it. Now ask yourself, have I stood up in the past 60 minutes? If you haven't, I want you to stand up, shake out those arms, shake out the leg, get the blood flowing, and then resume listening. And final question today is, I want you to ask yourself, what is one dream that I have? And how can I take one step towards making that dream my reality? I'm learning this week that I have huge goals, and unless I break down the goal and give myself little steps, baby steps I can take each day to get a little bit closer, that goal is never going to happen. So it's really important, if you have this big dream, to figure out, how am I going to walk to my dream and get there? Also, you guys, I had to press pause on this podcast because my neighbor's dog is so funny. It literally just ran into my backyard. I'm recording this episode in my living room. So typically I record in my bedroom, or not my bedroom, my office. It's technically a bedroom in the house, but it's my office, and I typically record in there. So I was just cracking up because my dog, he was like, it was his friend, his dog friend, and he was like barking at it, and I was like, oh my gosh. But it was, anyways, I had to pause the podcast and let that situation reside. It was just so funny because I was like, oh my gosh, there's a random dog in my backyard. But I love it. It was so funny. My street is actually hysterical. The dogs are like unhinged on my street. They're all friends and they run around in a little pack around the street. It's the cutest thing ever. Anyways, I hope you're feeling so good after that self check-in. I hope you're feeling a little bit more present with yourself. And sometimes all you have to do is ask a few questions and just get yourself reset, no matter how your day has started. If you're feeling chaotic, it just literally takes even a 5-minute moment to just breathe in a couple breaths, exhale, and just ask yourself like 3 questions and you're good to go. So anyways, I hope you're feeling good. Life update. You guys are gonna be so proud of me because I'm recording this episode on a Friday. So typically, if you listen to this podcast, you know that I tend to procrastinate most things, and I did not procrastinate this week. Usually I record on like a Tuesday, like the day before it goes live. But today I was like, no, we're going to be on top of our stuff. And the reason, when I spoke about goals earlier, you guys, I have this like life-changing hack that's going to help you so much that I've been doing this week. And we'll get more into it in the episode because this whole episode's on navigating your 20s. I haven't done an episode like this in a while. Most of the stuff we talk about on this podcast is very relevant to navigating your 20s, but we're going to do a whole episode on that. So I'll get more into like what I did in particular to help me not procrastinate. But then the main point of it is that I actually gave myself like actionable steps with a time deadline. So I've been very much just like on my game, getting things done, writing things down instead of having all of my to-dos jumbled in my head. Because if you don't already know, I have my own business. I run a online Pilates studio, an app called Sweaty Studio. That's my full-time job. It's an actual dream come true being an entrepreneur. I've wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was literally probably like 5 years old. Well, actually at 5 I wanted to be a princess, but I feel like most kindergartners have a dream like that. You guys, you're gonna crack up. I haven't shared this on the podcast, but when I was in kindergarten, like they asked me, what do you want to be when you're older? And I literally drew a picture of me in a carriage, and I was like, I'm going to be a princess and I'm going to ride in my carriage pulled by horses because I don't want to pollute the world with gasoline. I was like a young environmentalist, you guys. And then to make things better, fast forward to like 3rd grade, I learned about global warming in my class, and I made posters on PowerPoint that were polar bears, and I wrote "Save the Polar Bears." And then me and my mom walked around the neighborhood hanging them up, and next day all the posters were taken down. But anyways, I want to be an environmentalist as well as a princess. Some point all changed, and I eventually started my own little small businesses. I had a jewelry business called C Jewels at one point, and then eventually turned into a blog, and then turned into what it is today, which is my online Pilates studio and my podcast and all my social medias. So yeah, but you guys, I had some really exciting wins happen this week. I got featured in this online magazine called Bustle, and my wall Pilates class was featured on it, and then like as number 1, and which was actually so freaking exciting. And that was so crazy, you guys. One of you guys actually reached out to me about filming a wall Pilates class, and I was like, what's that? I've never heard of that. And I checked it out and I was like, wait, this is sick. Like, yeah, like I'll film it. So I filmed it. I posted the beginner Pilates one to YouTube. I have a YouTube channel called Callie Jardine. And literally that one got featured in Bustle. And then on top of that, I got our YouTube hit 100,000 subscribers, which is actually unreal to me. And I got reached out to by YouTube about getting like, they have different like trophies or something. I don't know. I got one of those, and literally so exciting. I feel like something that I struggle with a lot is celebrating my wins. I always find myself in the mentality of, okay, I hit a cool goal, let's keep going forward. But it's to a cost. I think it's really important to take time in our lives to actually celebrate all of our accomplishments and just take a moment to like be proud of ourselves, because I don't know, I work so freaking hard, you guys, and I know you do too. And it's important to celebrate how far we've come in our journeys, even if we haven't necessarily hit that end goal. Like, that end goal is going to be so much sweeter as we celebrate like the little milestones we hit along the way. So anyways, that's been really fun. I've been really just like really proud of myself, and that's new to me. So it's been awesome. Also, you guys, I've been feeling really exhausted all week long, kind of like, I don't know, like my period has been like it's just kind of been like sucking the energy out of me. And then I feel like I finally woke up today with like a lot of energy, so that's been really exciting. And I fell out of my fitness fitness routine a little bit this week on my period. I don't know, I've been like struggling to balance work, my fitness, and my health and social life and having a boyfriend, all that stuff. It's been a little bit intense this week, but I'm still working on it. So yeah, wow, that was a big ramble mind brain dump. But you guys, I hope you liked this little micro update, I guess. I can't wait to get into the episode because I feel like the updates are going to continue on in the episode. I have so much I want to tell you. Oh my gosh, I'm like popping at the brim with everything I want to say. Our episode, as I mentioned, is about navigating your 20s. And I love recording these because every time I record them, I swear I've learned something new since I last talked about this topic. And I know a lot of you guys listening are either in college, you just graduated college, or you've been working for a few years, or you're in high school. Like, there's a big range of people that listen to this show, which is actually so sick. Maybe like you're listening and you're 60 years old. Like, that's also amazing. All this stuff is going to apply to you as well. But I mainly want to tackle just like, I want to break some things that I I can't even talk. Myths. I want to just break down some myths that I think we're told a lot in school, out of school, by society, that I have found to be totally false and have hindered me in my journey post-college. So even during college. So a little bit background on me is I have moved my entire life. I was born in Texas, West Texas actually, tiny town. I moved to Canada when I was 2. I lived there for like 9 years and then moved back to Texas in Houston. I lived there for like 5 years and then I moved to Pittsburgh for like a year, graduated high school early, moved to Miami, went to college at University of Miami, lived there for like, I went to school for 4 years and then I lived there another year. Then I moved to New York this past spring. I was there for 5 months and then I broke my lease, was super confused. I was going through like a quarter life crisis, you guys. I moved out of New York City. I got a new car with my boyfriend. We drove across the country from Texas. We flew to Texas, got a car, drove from Texas all the way to California on a road trip, was camping all along the way. If you listen to the podcast, I have so many episodes during that time of my life, which is super cool. They like documented all of that. And then I thought I wanted to live in California for a hot second. And then I was like, no. Then we drove all the way to Pittsburgh for Thanksgiving. And then we drove all the way down to Florida, signed a lease, got a tiny boat before we signed the lease actually, which is also insane. And here we are running the business full time throughout all of that moment, all of that madness of moving. Okay, I hope you like that little backstory. Anyways, that kind of sums up my 20s in a nutshell, you guys. That chaos is how I felt for ever since I graduated college. Honestly, even during college. What I'm learning in my 20s and that I think everyone should be aware of is that the 20s is the time of your life when you are figuring out like what exactly your purpose is and who you are, and you're trying things aren't working, things are working. It's kind of like a trial and error time of life. And to be honest, maybe this will change as I get older, but I feel like life is truly just that. Like, I feel like all of life, we're never going to fully know exactly what the heck is going on. I think that that's the cool thing about life is we're always evolving as human beings, and we're never going to be the exact same. We're never going to have the exact same experiences. And I think it's just like learning that we're not always going to like feel like we're in control. I felt like I was super out of control when I was living my nomadic lifestyle, figuring out my life, figuring out my mental health situation, all this stuff. So anyways, that's like the first thing I just want to say. If you feel like you've no idea what you're doing in your life, if you feel like you've hit a point where you're like, I don't know what is next, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I want to do with my life, that's literally so normal. And I don't know. I think sometimes social media really does a great job making it look like everyone has their life together and that everyone knows what they're doing with their life. The amount of times I have seen entrepreneur videos being like, make $100,000 in 1 month. Here's how I became a billionaire overnight. Those videos make it look like it's so easy to have this simple, easy life and to become successful and rich really fast. A lot of the times videos leave out all of the parts of our lives that are difficult, challenging, and feel like we aren't going to get through them. I always use the analogy of waves. Life moves in waves. We'll have ups, we'll have downs. Sometimes the waves feel super big, like they're going to drown us, but we always are able to swim up to the top of the wave and make it out. That's how I've really felt since post-grad. I think something else that I've really learned since graduating college is that money is not everything. When I was looking for a job, I remember hearing all the different jobs my friends were getting. A lot of my friends were in finance or in like accounting or I majored in public relations. So I was trying to get a public relations job, and I was seeing like people post on LinkedIn, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to accept this job as blah, blah, blah analyst. And obviously nosy people look to see how much money those jobs make. I was being nosy and I was like, wow, they're making a lot more than I could ever make with an entry-level public relations job. My job was making $40,000, if that. That's literally like pre-tax money. A lot of people I knew were making like $70K and above. And I felt like all of a sudden it was like this weird divide, because in college we were all on the same track. Everyone was set to graduate in 4 years. Obviously that doesn't happen for everybody. Life happens. Sometimes you have to press pause on college or whatever. But for the most part, we were all in the same boat. We were all college kids just trying to pass our classes and find an internship. And then once all of a sudden we were graduating, getting jobs, it was like, wait, no one's on the same path anymore, or so it seems. Something I learned is that money does not matter. It matters to an extent, right? Like obviously money is important, because if we didn't have money, we wouldn't be able to get the stuff that we needed to survive, like the essentials, like shelter, food, water, all that stuff. But what I learned, and I talked about this on another episode, is that once you hit a certain point in how much money you're making, your happiness level really does not increase that much. And I've also realized too that there is never going to be enough. As I've started to make more and more money than where I first started, I have really noticed that like overall my happiness doesn't change that much. If I get a $3,000 check in the mail, or $1,000 check, or $5,000, $10,000, whatever, I don't really feel that much different. I'm like, okay, cool, awesome. What's next? It's like always that what's next mentality that I've noticed has really been a huge factor in career post-grad. It's always the, okay, cool, love this opportunity, what's happening next? Even when we feel like we're in a moment where we're maybe in a point where there's nothing going on, it's always that what's next, what's next, what's next? I've really struggled a lot with feeling present post-grad, being present in my 20s, because there's so much stuff thrown at us in our 20s about what we should be doing, how much we should be making, what we should be doing with our careers, where we should be living, who we should be dating, how we should be dressing. And it's always okay, well, what's happening next? What do I need to get now? What is the new style? What's the new trend? And oftentimes it's so easy to get pulled out of that present moment. And I've just noticed time has gone by so much faster since I was in college, because I think I'm always living in the future to a sense. So I've been really trying to reel that back this week. And like I mentioned, something that's really been helping me a lot is doing my goal setting activity. So I want to share it with you guys, because this is a really awesome thing if you are just starting a new job, or even if you're in college, literally wherever you are in your life. Like this is such a game changer, and it's just simple goal setting. So this is what I've been doing. Basically, as I said, I run my own business full time, and something that comes with that's challenging, that I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't talk about, is learning how to have good time management skills and how to hold yourself accountable when it's your own thing. When I had a boss, I felt like I would get my stuff done, because I was like, okay, my boss is gonna like text me or message me and email me and be like, where is this, Callie? If it's not done in a timely manner. Where if I don't have that same discipline for myself, then my business isn't going to continue to grow, reach more people. It's going to stay very stagnant. And that's not being have a scarcity or limited mindset. It's simply what I've observed. When I have taken steps back from my business and I've put my energy elsewhere, the business it continues to grow, but it just feels very complacent, if that makes sense. Like it's like standstill vibes. Like it's just continuing to flow in a pretty even state. So I noticed this about myself the other day. I was like, my boyfriend John works with me. We both run the business, and basically what we realized is that we were very complacent with the business. We were getting the basic stuff done and we weren't doing much else. So we weren't really setting goals with time, measurable goals. We weren't setting measurable goals for the business. We weren't writing them down. And as a result, it was hard to measure and track how we were doing. So what we did is we made a shared Google sheet, and we basically wrote down on the sheet, the different months. So it's March right now. So we wrote down March, and then we wrote down goal, the name of the person completing it, the day that we were going to complete it by, and if it was completed. So anyways, it's hard to explain this like not visually. I'm a very visual person, but basically I wrote down like an example of a goal is I'm going to find someone to run my social media. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/Callie and get on your way to being your best self. Recently, I was thinking about life and realized how beautiful it is that every single day we're growing, blossoming, and changing as a person and get to learn new things about ourselves constantly. Being best friends with yourself is like any other relationship. The more you learn, the more awareness and understanding you have about why you feel the way you feel. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way we do until we just talk through things. Last March, I had my first BetterHelp therapy session with a licensed therapist and quickly embarked on my journey to self-discovery that helped me heal my deep-rooted limiting and false beliefs that were really holding me back from becoming that best version of myself. So if you're thinking about trying therapy, I definitely recommend giving BetterHelp a shot. You can do your sessions from literally anywhere. I would literally go do them in my car, and they offer super convenient and flexible hours to fit with your schedule no matter what's going on. Just fill out your brief questionnaire to get matched with your licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Callie today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Callie. This time last year, I was deep in the pits of my battle with anxiety and depression. My mental health struggles affected literally every area of my life, from struggling to get out of bed in the morning to leaving my house for coffee with a friend. It was rough. I knew I couldn't keep letting my struggles control my life, so I started to fight head on by adding healthy habits like Headspace into my life. Headspace has the world's largest library of content with over 1,000 hours of clinically proven mental health exercises, from guided meditations, mindfulness practices, breathing and calming exercises. Headspace gives you tools that can help reduce anxiety, boost your mood, and help you sleep better. I'm obsessed with their Unlocking Creativity collection of meditations, especially as a super quick workday mood boost break, because you guys know I'm always creating new content, so sometimes the burnout feels real and I just need a little extra boost of inspiration. The meditations are so simple to follow along and short enough to fit into anyone's busy schedule, so I definitely recommend. Headspace has helped me and more than 100 million people worldwide. They can help you too. Listen up. You do not want to miss this. For a limited time, all of you can try Headspace free for 30 days by going to headspace.com/Callie30. You won't find this offer anywhere else. You must use my link HEADSPACE.com/Callie30 to unlock all of Headspace free for 30 days. This is not something they normally do. Headspace.com/Callie30.
The all-new Nissan Ariya is a fully loaded EV. It's brimming with style and power.
Up to 389 horses of it.
Innovation and intelligence.
E-Force all-wheel drive.
It'll pin you to your seat.
Your very plush seat.
The all-new, all-electric Nissan Ariya. Nissan Ariya with E-Force expected availability early 2023. E-Force cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. E-Force and 389 horsepower available on Platinum Plus. Nissan calculation using 1-foot rollout testing with long-range battery and E-Force only in sport mode with E-Step off. These results are for comparison only and should not be attempted on public roads. Drive responsibly. See nissanusa.com for details.
For my Sweaty Studio Instagram, that's actually something I've been working on right now. I was trying to find someone to manage my social media. And I wrote down, I'm going to, that's obviously a pretty broad goal. So I broke that down even further. I'm going to reach out to 5 people and set up discovery calls with them. And I wrote down the day that was going to be completed. If I did not complete it that day, so every morning we have a meeting now, and we'll be like, okay, we're doing these things. The next day, if those weren't completed, we'd highlight it in yellow. That was the first urgent pressing thing, was the things that hadn't been completed from the day before. If the next day comes, we still haven't done that thing, it goes to red. You guys, we made this rule for ourselves that if we don't complete the stuff in red, we deduct money from how much we pay ourselves. So red is 3 days late, minus $30 for that task. So basically, it's us holding ourselves accountable. We know that we are very rewards driven, and we know that if there's a penalty, we're going to get it done. We've learned how our work ethic is, and this is something that really helps us. So if this is something that you struggle with, is procrastination, you feel like you have a lot of goals for yourself, a lot of things you need to get done, but you just don't get them done, literally do this for yourself. Set yourself this little chart, write down the days you're completing it, and if you don't get it done in a set amount of days, penalize yourself. Maybe that means you are going to not go out for coffee for 3 days straight or something like that. I don't know. When I skated, I used to be a competitive figure skater. Something that really helped me with my mental blocks. I had a lot of mental blocks with jumping. So if I did a jump and okay, I'll explain this. An axel is a jump in skating. One time I did an axel and I pulled a muscle. After that, I really struggled a lot with that jump because I associate that jump with pain. So I would find myself, it's called popping the jump, is when you go for the jump in skating and you freeze midair, you don't rotate it, and then you just land on your feet. So I struggled with popping. That was my bad habit. My coaches found that I was very rewards driven. So if they had a reward for me, if I did the jump, if I went for it, I gave it all my all, even if I fell, whatever, I would still get a reward. It was typically a sticker or something. So that was the reward. If I did not do the jump, I had a punishment. My coaches were so funny. They would make me do push-ups on the ice, and I hated it. But it worked because I did not want to pop that jump at all because I was I don't want to do push-ups on the ice. That sucks. I want a sticker. So as a result, I found myself doing the jumps so much more. And I started to train myself the same way. If I wasn't in a lesson and I was having a hard time going for the jump, I would tell myself, I am holding myself accountable to jumping and doing my axel, holding it in and landing my jump or whatever. And I'd make my promise to myself, for some reason, if this doesn't happen, I'm doing 10 push-ups on the ice. And I would hold myself accountable to it. And it sucked, but I literally swear you guys, my consistency increased so much once I started doing this in skating. So this is a similar technique to what me and John have been doing for the business, and it has been helping exponentially, you guys. So if you are just a procrastination kind of person, literally try this, okay? Something else that I've noticed in my 20s, especially post-grad, is just the pressure. We put so much pressure on ourselves. I don't know. I feel like something I always feel like is that if I'm not doing something, I'm a failure. I feel like I'm behind. I feel like I'm going to fall behind. And I really realized that a lot of the times when I've had the biggest wins in my career, in my social life, in my relationships, in my own personal health, is when I slow down, I become present with where I am, and I just don't overcomplicate it. I just don't put that insane pressure on myself. I still hold myself accountable, like I'm saying, but I also realize that nothing is worth being so stressed about, if that makes sense. End of the day, it's all about that perspective. And I might sound a little contradictory because I was just telling you guys this whole productivity hack system that I've been using. But aside from that, something I'm learning is life is too short to be so stressed out over the smallest things. I always ask myself this question if I get in a fight with somebody or about like anything in general. It's, will I care about this in 5 years? And most of the time the answer is no. Like if I get denied from some sort of deal, or if someone doesn't text me back, will I care about this in 5 years? No. So why should I let it bother me so much now? And that has been really, really helpful. It's like taking that pressure off of the situation, realizing that nothing is really as important as it seems. And obviously things are important, but realizing that there's no like life or death situation happening in just like our normal day-to-day, like work day, friends. I mean, unless it's like an emergency, yes, like obviously that's like a very serious situation. But most things, like having your boss send you an angry email because you didn't submit something right when you said you would, isn't gonna mean you're literally in a life or death situation, is what I'm trying to say. So give yourself some grace here. Realize that life isn't as serious as everyone makes it out to be, and have some more fun. I wish that when I first started working, I realized that I was allowed to have fun. I thought that I had to just work constantly. I thought that I literally, if I didn't finish all my work for the day, like I could not take a break. Like I was a workaholic. I would work like 12 hours straight. I'd work through my lunch break. It was actually very toxic, and it turned into me never giving myself time to take care of myself. And I think when we first start out on our careers, I feel like this episode is also very career-based, but when we first start out our careers, it feels like we have to prove ourselves. And I'm here to tell you that, like, no, just because you want to, like, put your best foot forward and make people think, like, you're really good at what you're doing, does not mean that they have the expectation that you could never take a break. If a boss or someone has an expectation that you should be working 24/7, like that's not a healthy boss. So I wish I'd known that. I wish that I hadn't felt so like uncomfortable stepping away from my laptop and doing the things I need to do to fill my cup, because it would have saved me a lot of mental health. It would have helped my mental health significantly while I was working my job. Also, I think something else that really has helped me with navigating my 20s is learning how to reach out to people for help and ask questions. It's like literally so important to pick people's brains, you guys. I mean, literally your parents, older friends, bosses, coworkers, anyone. I think it's really cool to learn from other people. I mean, the human race in general, it's like storytelling has been part of the human race for so long. And I think that's how a lot of times we learn things, is from people teaching us stuff. And I've learned a ton of things from just talking to people, from listening to podcasts, from watching videos. And I think like after school, it's important to continue to always learn, because as you learn, it continues to help you to grow into a better version of yourself. So with simple things like taxes, I always ask my parents for help still. Like I will still be like, hey, can you explain this to me? Like, and if they can't explain it, I will ask a friend who is running their own business and who knows what they're doing with taxes. If they don't know, I'll just go to Google and I'll go on YouTube. So I think that's another thing I've learned, is like, don't be afraid to ask, because no one's going to put you down for asking. And if they do, then they just kind of suck as a person. Also, something that's helped me a lot too with finding just my purpose. I think a lot of people in their 20s are like, what is my purpose? Like, I don't understand kind of like what I'm here to do. Is I got back in my relationship with Christ in my 20s, and it has actually helped me so much, you guys. Just like every day I start my morning routine with my devotional and reading some scripture. Today I did not, but I always will start at least with prayer. And that's one thing I'm learning too, is like having a relationship with God does not mean you have to spend hours a day in prayer, reading devotional, reading the Bible. Yes, that's absolutely amazing, but God will meet you where you are. Like today, I have so much stuff going on, and so I prayed and I just literally talked to God while I was driving a car, And that was awesome. So that's something else I'm like learning too with just like my walk with God, is that like he's going to meet me where I am. And I got back into my faith when I was at a really, really low point last year. I was struggling with my relationship with food. I was struggling with really bad anxiety and depression. I felt like every day I'd wake up and I just didn't want to be awake. Like that sounds so depressing, but it was true. And I felt so incredibly lost. And it was a couple of my friends that invited me to go to church with them. And I used to go to church when I was growing up, but I had a really bad experience just with the church in general. It was just really tough going to church in the South. I felt like a lot of just judgment, and I just didn't feel very welcome. I have like more episodes where I talk more about this, but I had an ick with the church, to say the least. So when I went back to church for the first time, it was really cool because the sermon was literally verbatim what I was experiencing, and I felt just God like so speaking to me. And this led me to really just dive back into my relationship with God, and really every day just asking God to guide me, to show me what he wants me to do in the day, to just run my day, honestly. Like it's all about releasing that control. And that's something I'm learning in my 20s. It's like releasing control is a beautiful thing, because end of the day, we think we can control things, but typically we can't control things. Like we're so small in the grand scheme of things. And I don't know, just like releasing all of my control to God and just like letting him just guide me has absolutely been a game changer. I get a lot of questions asking, okay, but where do I starting my relationship with Christ? And truly, I have found that this one devotional by Sadie Robertson called On Purpose has been such an awesome place to start. It is basically just like a daily devotional you read. It has scripture, and then it talks a lot about like anxiety and fear. So I started adding that into my morning routine, and then I like to actually dive deeper into the scripture that the devotional has in it. So I'll like study like the chapter or whatever, and then I'll just pray. I'll just talk to God like I would a best friend. I just be like, hey, what's up? Like, how you doing? And honestly, it's been a beautiful thing. And look, I get it. I understand that it can feel really confusing in your 20s, and also in terms of what you believe, like spiritual religious beliefs. Like, look, I literally didn't know what I believed, to be honest. Like I spent a lot of time dabbling in spirituality. I always believed in God. Like I always knew there was a higher power. I just wasn't really sure exactly what it was. So it was really cool just seeing God meet me where I was, and just working through with some of my friends to lead me back to him. And that's the beauty of it, is I think like moving even out of just like spirituality and religion, it's like in your 20s, it's so important to just try things, take risks, dabble with things that you have been afraid of. No, I'm not saying dabble in drugs. Don't do that. I'm saying like if you've always wanted to try surfing, or if you've always wanted to try writing a book, or maybe you wanted to start a podcast, it's now or never. There's no perfect time for anything, and you don't have to have everything line up perfectly for you to start something. I had someone message me yesterday about wanting to move to Florida and feeling like, she was like, should I like establish myself here first in my career and then move to Florida and find like a job there once I like have established myself? I'm like, girl, literally, if you are dreaming of living in Florida, like if this has always been a dream of yours, like why would you wait if you don't have to wait? I think that's something that society has lied to us about. And in schools, it's always like making sure, like waiting for the perfect moment, making sure you're super, super prepared. Yes, it's great to be prepared. It's great to have security. I'm a risk taker, and I have to say, like, yeah, I've taken some risks before that have cost me a lot of money. I mean, look, I moved to New York City for 5 months and I broke my lease, and it's expensive to move. It's really expensive. And then breaking a lease on top of that is expensive. And then moving all the way back is freaking expensive. So it was a very expensive mistake, you guys. It cost me around probably $20,000, if I'm being totally honest with you. It was not cheap, and it was terrifying. I was like, that's a ton of money. But you guys, end of the day, I learned so much from it, and lessons are so priceless. It shaped me into who I am. I learned things that I will never do again. I learned things that have taught me how to make better decisions, and I learned a lot about moving, and I learned a lot about myself in the process. So I don't think, like, I think that with mistakes in general, it's like, yeah, you can make a mistake, but there's always a lesson out of it. So don't be too hard on yourself if you mess up, because we all mess up every single day. We're just human, hence the name of my podcast, Healthy But Human. We are all human beings in the day, and you need to give yourself a little bit of grace. But I think also something I want to quickly touch on is, we talked about a lot, but friends and relationships in your 20s. Look, career is obviously very important in your 20s. Like, it's so pushed on us. It's important to start making money. Like, it's good to make money, but it's not everything, you guys. And I found myself struggling before. Like, last year, I struggled with friendships. I put my job over making relationships with people, and as a result, I found myself a lot of the nights alone and lonely and sad. This year, after moving out of New York City, I really realized how beautiful and important it is to have community around us. I have an entire episode on finding your people where I talk about some friendship tips I've learned, and I definitely recommend checking it out. But I really realized that end of the day, and I read this out of a devotional I read in the mornings. It's Bob Goth, his like 365-day devotional. Really, really solid also. It was like, end of the day, like when you are taking your last final breath, people are going to remember you for the love that you showed to them. They're going to remember you for the relationships that you had, the memories and experiences that you guys had together. It's not going to be, oh, so-and-so was featured in Bustle, or so-and-so made $1 billion by the time she was 30, whatever. It's going to be for, she was a very sweet, loving, dear friend to me, and we had some beautiful memories together. And it really gave me this perspective that it's super important to make friends. It's super important to do life with other people. Career is not everything. In fact, career should be like after your relationships. I think relationships over everything, you guys. So if you've been putting your career over making a new friend or over, I don't know, your family, like, I just want to challenge you to try to find a better balance with it, because it can be done. And I understand that sometimes there are seasons of life where your job takes up a lot of your time, but it's also important to make sure that you don't make your work your identity and make it take over having people in your life, because loneliness is such a killer, you guys. Loneliness will sneak in there. It will suck your joy, and it will cause you to get in your head. It'll cause you to feel more anxiety. It'll cause you to feel depression. That's what happened to me in New York City, you guys. I felt very, very lonely, and as a result, it started to just ruin my life. So this is me saying to you that friendships over everything, you guys. I have been finding a lot of people through Bumble BFF. If you need a great place to start making friends, it is actually so cool. Some of my friends were like, Callie, you need to try Bumble BFF. And I was like, okay, you guys, there are some really cool people on Bumble BFF. And you can find people who have similar interests, similar beliefs, values, all that stuff. And I'm obsessed. Anyways, I hope this episode just helped you a little bit with your day. Hope you feel a little bit better. This is my reminder, just take the pressure off yourself. You are doing an amazing job, and none of us have it figured out, honestly. So don't feel like you're behind. Don't feel like your life is an absolute disaster and chaotic mess, because most of ours, like, low-key are. And that's fine, because we're all learning together. And that's the beautiful thing with life and community, is we're in this together. So never feel like you're alone. If you ever need to just talk to somebody, please DM me on Instagram. You can DM me on my main Instagram is I'm sweaty and I know it. I check that one the most, but my podcast Instagram is Healthy But Human Pod, if that makes sense. And also, feel free to join me for some Pilates. I have a studio called Sweaty Studio. It has an app, it has a website, and I'll link it in the show notes. We're doing a challenge right now too. So that's also a really fun way to get plugged into community, is through my Sweaty Studio. I have a group chat where it's very active, actually. And it's like a really fun little support group of people from all over the world who are in their fitness journeys together. So definitely join the studio and join the group chat because it is where it's at. So on that note, I hope you love this episode. I hope you loved the navigating your 20s style kind of topics. Feel free to send in any more topic requests you have for me and I'll make it happen for you. All right, I will see you next week. Have the best day ever. Make sure to review the podcast if you loved it. Tag me in your stories on Instagram and I will see you next time. Bye guys.